Welcome back to motherfucking Talladega. This is NASCAR. I fucking love it. I miss it, and we're not alone. Behind us, we have Will and Ryan, who are joining us for this race. They were in the voice chat with us as well in Discord, so we were talking to them throughout the race, and I just want to say how much I freaking love NASCAR. It is addicting as hell. I could do this for the rest of my life very easily. There are moments where it does seem a bit stale, and that's the road driver side of me talking, but regardless, I love NASCAR, I love the strategy, and I was really rusty going into this, and you're going to see me kind of try and iron out those kinks. Eventually I do, but to start off, we get a pretty rough start as the leader goes to the outside line, and that kind of saves P4, who typically falls behind P3, as P3 is that inside car. But so we move down to P4. There's an outside line forming. We do have people pushing us around, which is nice. And by the time we cross onto lap 2, very similar situation. That outside line is picking up a little bit of steam as he's got a nose ahead going through. I think that's turn 1, and then this is technically turn 2, even though to me it feels like the same corner. And I decide, you know what? They were looking pretty good. I'm going to slip in front and see how that goes. Now, I'm really hoping that this guy stays behind and pushes me, and thankfully he does and doesn't just tuck into my spot. So I am now at the helm of this outside line and going to try to make a charge to at least move up one position. Ryan is not too far behind us, 2 cars behind us, and then Will is on the inside line a bit further back. And really my goal here is to get enough steam, enough overspeed, so that I'm able to get ahead of one of those 3 cars that were ahead of me on the inside line and slot in there and basically gain a position on the inside line. That is my game plan, and it's actually going to be put perfectly to use here, as going into turn 1 on lap 3, the space opens up ahead of P3 in that bottom line, inside line, and I move down and take it. So I do actually end up gaining a position. The car behind follows me, and a few cars back in that outside line, car number 3 receives a bump in turn 2, and into the wall he goes. The worst kind of wreck where nobody else is involved and you basically just fall completely off of the group and lose all chance in a race like this, because there are no cautions, there are no safety cars, it's just a straight dash to the end, 16 laps around Talladega, and we move back to the outside line as Ryan is coming around, and he is at the helm of that outside line. He's in a weird position where he kind of gets pushed wide, so he's forced to go around me, and thankfully there's space behind him, so I'm able to slot in and at least salvage something. I'm second in that outside line. There's still opportunity, and the way that I view the outside line is like more risk reward. You're out there, you can get a good run, you can get a bad run, and it's a lot less consistent than that inside line, so you're kind of at the mercy of yourself and the others around you. And I'm so sorry for everybody who is at my mercy, because I don't know what I'm doing here. I go around Ryan, and then we kind of move into the space at the same time in the middle of this lane, make contact, and create by far, I think, the biggest collision I've ever had in NASCAR, or that I have ever caused in NASCAR. We took out so many people. Multiple times we find ourselves inside of Ryan. We eventually separate from him, but go back inside of him before hitting a nice kind of little burnout, spin around half donut here, somehow get the car facing the right direction. I think we made contact again with somebody, and we find our way pointing the right direction. Now, we killed so many people this race. There are people still trying to get on track. Ryan's car was completely toasted. Really bad stuff from me, and like I said, I was a bit rusty. That was just, there was no point in me going 3 wide there. I am sorry to everybody. I'm sorry to the viewers. I promise it's going to get better. P18 was our end result in this one. So losing I rating and safety rating, which is expected to happen, honestly, when I've been away from it for this long, but we would actually snap back into it pretty quickly. Ryan finished right behind us. Will actually ended up finishing in P6 with 69 I rating. Next race, and we're just going to go ahead and skip the start of this one. Really, nothing happened. We do end up finding a position as somebody on the inside line moves to the outside, crossing onto lap 3, so that'll move us up into, well, it could move us up into P9, as that guy's kind of on the outside, so he could end up falling behind. I don't know if he had somebody directly behind him. I don't think he did, and he ends up just tucking back behind us, and that's kind of the risk that you take with that outside line. If there's not already an established line, you just kind of hang yourself out to dry. Now, skipping ahead a lap, and you can see that there is a pretty successful outside line running. They've moved us down quite a few positions, and funny moment here where the 2 cars ahead of me just swap lines. 2 guys moved to the outside line there. 1 guy moved to the inside line. It was like a gentleman's agreement, and that actually ended up kind of putting me in a little bit of a better position. It put me further ahead on the inside line, which was nice. Ryan then found himself directly behind us as we are bumping the Jurt Mustang around T1 and T2. Orange car popping underneath the apron, ends up riding high, and eventually finds himself in the quarter panel of Salt Life, who gets slid out, spun into oblivion as that orange car actually survived and was able to rejoin the track. Now, we do have about 3 lines going, and the outside lines were really getting feisty. I think that's why they weren't as successful as they could have been. There were constantly guys making it 3 wide when I think if they had just all stayed in one line, they very easily could have skipped to the front and at least gained a few positions. Like, same thing that we did last race. You move to the front and then you move to that inside line. Now, this is lap 14, so the race is coming down to it. It's only 16 laps total, and sadly, once again, we are actually not going to end up making it the full 16 laps. Car 60 drives up into the quarter panel of Best Buy, who gets thrown wide, then gets hit in the rear quarter by the car behind. I end up hitting car 60, who has lost speed, and we are totally sideways into the wall, along with quite a few people. 11 is upside down, and car 60 seems to be pulled in by the gravitational force of all of these cars converging on the exact same point. They're going to run into each other again off on the side of the track. I don't even try to get my car started. I'm straight to the pits, P20. Here are the results for that one. Not something that I like to look at. We are really, truly tanking. That is 2 terrible results back to back, and I knew that I just needed to start playing things safe. Will was in that race apparently, but he didn't even join. He finished 16 laps down, disconnected, so I don't think he actually showed up to that one. Believe it or not, it's going to actually get worse from there. Straight into this one, lap number 8. Doesn't matter where we qualified, and apparently it doesn't matter what our oil pressure is. I totally forgot that this was a thing in NASCAR, and I was not paying attention to it at all. I was right on Ryan's ass, who's that car ahead of me, and I'm hitting 150, I'm hitting 151. This is well past where I should be, and the consequences are felt deeply as my radiator blows, and I have to pull off to the side, fall completely out of this race, and at a horrible time. It was right at the pit lane entrance, so I missed the pit lane. I could have towed, but it would have taken forever, and instead I just opted to pull over on the side of the road and call this one quits. An abysmal finish of P19. Now, I am skipping a lot of races. I had some good ones where I basically just stayed on the inside the entire time and ended up gaining iRacing, but I wanted to highlight some of my best and worst. Now, this race, we're skipping to lap 3. I started on pole. I'm currently in pole, and car number 12 at the front of the outside line, just murdering himself, falling back through the large gap and killing someone else. Reverting back to lap 1 briefly, just so you can see that the reason that gap was there was simply because these guys, this blue and this black car, didn't get on the throttle when the flag went green. It just went green, and they just never got on the throttle. So this huge gap formed that carried throughout the entire race. I'm sure that was really annoying for everybody behind them. Back to lap number 6, so current time, and we have the Red Bull car in P5, GoPro in P6, and he gives him a nudge. I don't know if this guy just wasn't fond of that, or he was upset that he did kind of get pushed wide, I guess, onto lap 7. He's just going to cut down and absolutely murder GoPro, sending him flying off and basically ending his race. Now, lap number 12, skipping ahead quite a lot, not much happened. This outside line eventually did find success. They were all working together. They had a huge run on us, and you can see those top 3 all right on each other's tail. They're going to pull a pretty standard move here. They have the space. Get to the inside. That Miller car actually comes flying in and fights for some space, ends up eventually getting it. I opt to go in the middle to see if I can salvage something here. The car I was going to try and get behind and push pulls into that inside line, and by this time there's no space for me left there. There will be a murder at the front of this group, though, as a Camaro kills another Camaro, spinning him on the quarter panel. I probably could have tucked into that line, but I opted not to for whatever reason, probably just being a bit too polite, and I end up finding myself down quite a few positions. I'm into P6. Pretty much everybody has more momentum than me. There will be some more deaths, and sadly I'm going to be one of the victims as they spin ahead and I run into an invisible car that spins my car into 69. We all go flying. I double helix all of the way across turn 3. Quite a slide from myself. Almost end up sliding into these guys. Thankfully I don't, and I'm not... that was not... You almost saw disaster there as I was not on my brakes. Can confirm. My car was rolling. Thankfully, nobody was killed. And thankfully, I didn't have enough damage to really force me into the pits. There's only 2 laps left, and I was able to do them with a very slow car, just being passed by everybody who was anywhere near me, and I end up crossing in P14. Another sad race. Now I'm going to show you guys a really, really good one. And I'm also going to show y'all qualifying, which this is probably my worst qualifying. Your outlap, you're riding very high, especially through corners 3 and 4. You can cut down on 4. Sometimes I do. I think I did on this lap. But the goal is just to keep your tires as cool as possible. And we are onto our flying lap now. First corner, dive straight in and hug this line as closely as you can with as minimal steering while keeping the speed as high as possible. I stray a bit far from the line in some instances, and I also don't get a great exit out of turn 2 right there. You kind of want to let the car drift a little bit more than I did. I kind of cut off the exit, trying to ride the banking a bit more. Now through turn 3, you'll see that red rev light fall off because I am losing speed. That typically always happens to me there. There's been a couple of times that it doesn't, but for the most part, I always lose that speed. Now, very important that you cut onto the apron, crossing to the line, and you really only have one flying lap. Your tires are just not there in the second one. 54.16. That is what we're going to have to take for our quali. It put us in a really rough position, actually. P11, less than a tenth off of the leader, about 7/100ths off of him, but a lot of people between me and him. Still, it's very close when there's not that much that you can do differently on the track on a surface level. Once you dive deeper into the pros, there's a lot that you can do. Now on the formation lap, the leader decides to drive out into the middle of nowhere, and I was going to show you guys like a lot of the text and a lot of the voice chat that was happening on this formation lap, but I honestly thought that, you know what, the conversations that were being had were not for YouTube. So let's focus on the race. Lap 1, we get underway, green flag is flying, and we maintain P11 for the time being, following behind Forrest Hamilton Jr., that black Ford, and you can see that there are some people kind of peeping out ahead. We have a lot of room behind us. That could be a good or a bad thing depending on how big of a run these guys get, and it's going to be car number 3. Obviously, he has the draft, he has the inside line, and Noah Hogg has to sit behind him. That guy's name is Noah Hogg. He will be seen again in this video. We have a lot of space between ourselves and the lead group, with some small gaps between. It's gonna be made up pretty quickly as everybody is able to bump each other, and that lead group just wasn't able to keep the pace high enough to outrun the gap that they had. So we're pretty quickly going to close up to them. It's still in P11, and trying a tactic here that I've learned recently where you fall back at the beginning of, or leaving turn 3 or turn 2. You fall back, you go along the very long straight, and you're hoping that the cars ahead check up and that you're able to pull to the right with enough overspeed that you fly past them and find space on the inside to tuck back in. Now, I kind of was half thinking about it there, but it was very, very late if I would have done that. You generally want to get that started right before you guys turn into the corner. Not to mention that we did have a car who had tried to basically do what I was saying. He jumped out, didn't work out for him, and now he is stuck on the outside, falling all of the way back. Like, we will see this guy again. He had no hope. He was getting passed by everybody and nobody was helping him. Now, up into P10 from that guy falling back, and same thing. I'm trying to get this move where I fall off a couple of tenths, and towards that next corner, I'm hoping that everybody checks up, but they actually end up checking up super early, and I didn't want to make that move. I end up just bumping him instead. I wanted them to check up basically right now, and perfectly they do. So I go flying around the outside, a bit of a rough rejoin, but I find space back on the inside, and Forrest Hamilton, the car who I went past, was pretty generous with that space, and he is very generous to a lot of people throughout the race and is one to watch out for. Just like keep a tab on Forrest Hamilton. Now, the car who was trying to follow me around the outside isn't able to do so. He loses the speed as going around the outside with no slip, you're just not going to be very fast unless you are being pushed, especially around corners. Now, up ahead, somebody's trying to peep to the outside. Car number 18 directly ahead of me goes to follow him, and I take this opportunity to stay on the inside, which is another great way to get positions. When you're just riding on the inside, somebody tucks up and you take that space as quickly as you can. If nothing else, you're just asserting yourself further forward on the inside line, which I feel is the most advantageous position. It's my whole strategy in oval racing in NASCAR, just to keep moving forward, inching forward, biting a position here, there on the inside line. Now, that you know, I'm not a professional NASCAR driver, but that's just how I see it. And then at the end, you can kind of do whatever you want that last lap, which we will see. Now, briefly skipping back to lap 2 to see how the group got separated, because there were a few cars that fell off early on. That guy from earlier who was just totally left out to dry, for whatever reason, just never rejoins the inside line. And so he falls all the way off of the back. The Ziegler.com car ends up getting smacked from behind as everybody is checking up, and multiple cars go flying off to the side there. So we lose a few there from the wreck. And then on top of that, a couple of guys just lose so much speed that they were not able to keep up with the group. Just wanted to update you on how the group got smaller overall. Now back to current times. We are on lap number 4. I'm on the inside still, and you can see that outside line, they have recruited some new members, and they're doing fantastic. When everybody is cooperating on the outside line, it's the place to be. It's a freaking party. It basically has put me in last place in this group. The only guy behind us is Forrest. We are all of the way at the back. Everybody behind Forrest just went to that outside line, and it seemed to be successful. It was 5 cars at the moment, but they are getting very close to each other as opposed to the inside line, which has enough space that they should be able to make up the difference. 18 pulling to the inside, just fucking everything up for that outside line, making it 3 wide, and that actually ends up leaving car number 5, who was that previous leader of the outside, to dry, and he falls all of the way to the back. He accepts it very early, lifts off the throttle, and just gets all of the way at the back and says, you know what, fresh start, let's try again. He has a lot of space now, at least, to make decisions and be creative with his overtakes, and he does look for a run pretty quickly, but there just wasn't much opportunity other than moving down behind me, and I think he wanted to take the risk / reward of the high line, so he stays up there. Now the car in P3 moves up to be the new leader of that outside line, which tends to happen. It's like they're throwing mutinies at each other all the time. They're working together, and then all of a sudden somebody messes it up for everybody and gets greedy, which is lovely. It's the dance, the ballet, the orchestra of NASCAR, and it's so cool to see. And it was the right decision by that car, who was previously in P3, moves to the outside, gets pushed to the lead of the race, and as it so often happens, the car that pushed him there, not able to really benefit from that, and sees himself still stuck on the outside. Now, car number 1 drifts up into 5. He's collected. They hit 14 on the quarter panel. He's pitted. 3 cars go into the wall, and it must have been our lucky day. We had no involvement in that. It wouldn't be much longer before Noah Hogg tries to occupy the same space as that white car, and unfortunately for that white car, he's backwards across the line onto lap number 7. So we move past Noah Hogg, and we are up into P7 now. And it's an interesting situation where there's a second between P5 and P4, so we're almost falling off of this group, and all of a sudden everybody scrambles to work together, gets like perfectly synchronized. We're all pushing each other. I've got this little bubble of air between myself and 8. I don't want to push him too much. I just want to let him push the car ahead of him, and then we can catch up to this group. We should be able to catch up to the group pretty quickly. I think by this point we've gained a 10th, and as they start to feel the slipstream effects from that lead group, they start to gap me. I mean, they're starting to pull away, and then I begin to feel the slipstream effects from them even more, so I have this crazy run. On top of that, I think this guy definitely did check up a bit. I look to go around the outside onto lap number 8, trying to take advantage of what could have been there. Very quickly realize that nothing is, and I tuck back onto the inside. Forrest Hamilton, as generous as he is, just stays super far back and lets me have that position. He does move around the outside briefly, perhaps to look for a run in a position. I don't think so, because he didn't have enough overspeed, and he ends up just hanging out there, even though he could have rejoined. So if I didn't know any better, I would say he wanted to be at the back of the pack, which does have its own advantages. Freedom, for instance. Now, I'm trying to create my own freedom on lap number 9 by kind of backing up the cars behind me, getting space between myself and car number 8 to get a run, but car number 8 actually peeps to the outside, and that defends me going around the outside, so I slow down, and Noah Hogg takes huge advantage of that. He's got a massive run, gets a bit greedy trying to go too far. He probably would have been able to slot in front of me, but instead looks for 2. It doesn't happen. By the time he falls back, I've taken up that space behind, and we end up making net code contact. We were pretty far. I did drift a little bit. Regardless, it didn't make a huge difference, and Noah could slide in behind me. He's very close. He's actually side drafting me, taking this whole view in from Forrest Hamilton, who's just chilling at the back, watching everything go down. And look how far back Forrest is sitting. He had every opportunity to slot behind me and exclude Noah Hogg, forcing him to the back of the line, but never did it. So I do think that he had some plan that he was trying to unfold, just constantly hanging 3-4 tenths back, which is a great place to be when you're in a group that's only about 10 cars, such as this one. Small group, easy opportunity for like one really big run that promotes you very high. Now they're checking up ahead. This could be an instance for me to look around the outside, and I do it, cutting it very close, trying to pick up some side draft from car number 12 here, and it's maybe this is just not how you side draft. It probably isn't. I mean, I am currently being side drafted by the car behind him as well, which is the problem with trying to side draft somebody who's in a DRS train, and it ultimately just immediately kills my run. I have the opportunity to tuck back in that inside line, but I think Noah is waiting to see what happens as well. Car number 8 actually says, you know what, I'll work with you, and joins me on the outside, and I say, fuck you, and I take his place. Like, there's just enough space. Absolute betrayal et tu brute. I'm so sorry, car number 8. I had never done that before. I just thought it would be funny and kind of cool to do that. It did feel kind of cool. That was something that, like a situation that I had never been in NASCAR before, so it was pretty cool to kind of bait somebody to the outside and then just take their place, ultimately gaining a position. So up into P6, and Forrest Hamilton is actually on the outside as we cross onto lap number 13, possibly looking to make something happen. I try and put my faith with him and move to the outside. There was way too much space in between the cars ahead, though. They were not checking up. They had no reason to slow down. They're actually going extremely fast, and everybody moves back to that inside line, including Forrest Hamilton. So I'm out here by myself. There is a lapped car, but he's way too far to give me any type of meaningful slipstream. So I say, you know what? I'll suffer the consequences. I did this to myself. I'm now at the back of the grid. We only have 3 more laps to go, but there's nobody behind me, which is cool. Kind of what I was talking about earlier. You have this freedom at the back of the pack to just do whatever you want. Forrest has been the one enjoying it, but now I get to. Unfortunately, the Iceman, a lapped car, is going to get in front of me and just receive a couple of bumps before moving out of the way and letting me continue my race. I was kind of worried about falling out of slipstream. I've seen it happen before where I just get dusted by a group. Thankfully, I'm just on the precipice, and they did get checked up a little bit. Forrest was very kind with releasing the throttle when he didn't have to and letting me catch back up as well. So I find myself still tagging along P9, the very back of this group, and we are about to go on to the penultimate lap. I knew I would have to do something like semi-creative if I wanted to make anything happen here. This line had basically stayed as one line for like 8 laps straight. So as we go around turns 1 and 2, I'm gonna lift, let myself fall back, try and get that massive run that I'm always talking about. I end up finding it, flying past Forrest Hamilton into turn number 3, and I have a huge amount of overspeed. Thought I could maybe get 2 positions there, a bit greedy, but I was able to tuck in front of Forrest and at least gain 1 position, which is better than nothing. As we go on to the final lap, I was feeling pretty good about being able to set up and control my runs. There's a car on the outside. Everybody is checking up really, really early here, so it's going to nullify me doing just about anything into this corner. I don't want to be second on the outside line. My thought process right now was that I wanted to push everybody past car number 3 and have basically be closer to the front of the inside line going through the final corner, which happened perfectly. Car number 3 was not able to rejoin that line, and I fell off just enough to get this crazy run. Everybody checks up. It's a dream situation. They are bumper to bumper. Forrest follows me through. I have so much speed. I'm able to tuck down, get some side draft from car number 18, who is far enough away from the car behind him that I'm not really being side drafted, so I have that advantage. I'm flying past. Forrest is behind me. Iceman is behind him. He's pushing me around the outside. This run is insane. On the last lap, last corner, the 3 cars to the left, the leaders, they're wrecking each other. Everybody is flying off to the side. I'm in the lead of the race, going up to the final corner, but I'm being side drafted by Forrest, and he finds space on the outside and fucking gets it. So I finish in P2. very close to having a win. Extremely well played by Forrest. I should have tucked down under the apron and not allowed him to side draft me, but whatever. I am so happy with how that race went. Now I want to revert back to that final run to show you these accidents that happened. So here's me trying to get close enough to side draft this guy, and we're going to hop on board with him as he looks to go onto the apron, but the Go Bowling car, who started on pole, gets in between. Both of his corners are touching cars, he gets spun, and then the Iceman actually gets hit in the rear corner by who else but Noah Hogg, who gets sent across the side, and car number 18, sadly, gets slid out in all of that mess after doing so much work at the front of that outside line. He is going to be P7, and the three guys who spun just before that, this was actually the pole sitter, Go Bowling, slides back up onto the track, almost gets taken out by the other guy sliding backwards, and he will finish in P8, so running at the front for so much, but nonetheless, I mean, I'm sure he had a good time in that race. Probably not as good as me, but holy fuck, I love NASCAR. Like, is this what it's all about? That was so much fun. The crazy run at the end is just nuts. And what a finish. Very good stuff by Forrest. We gained a lot from that in safety and iRating. It was just the best. It might have been the best day of my life. Honestly, it's amazing. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more, check out the playlist in the description, the video on your screen, and subscribe.